welcome back. And as we promised, we are providing you with some of the tips that you need for your Christmas dinner. And joining us this morning, we have Patrick Rodriguez, who is the Food and Beverage Coordinator at the Belize Best Western Biltmore Plaza. Of course, we do have to say thank you for coming in
That's no problem.
and sharing with us the tips as to how to properly dress a table.
Well, what we have here today is it's just a normal table setting.
Yeah.
Because normally your setting would be based on your menu and what you're serving.
Okay.
For this particular setting that we have here is for just a basic meal, you know.
Yeah.
Meaning that we won't have any appetizer because there's no appetizer fork.
Okay.
So that's why I only have one knife on the table.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So if, when we're finished with the main course, then we go to our dessert.
Yeah.
So then these will be removed. So you'll be only having one fork on your table.
Let's start one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is probably going to be. So when one sits down, this is what they would have in front of them.
That's right,
Charlie,
yeah.
do you want to join me for dinner?
Sure.
Okay. So the first thing people need to remember is what to do with.
Well, the napkin definitely.
Yeah.
The napkin. This is definitely when you would sit at the table. This should be placed on the lap.
And it's okay for the server to put it on your lap.
No,
I see
that's-
some people get really freaked out about that.
That's the correct way to do it.
Yes.
That's because it should never be placed on the table.
Yeah.
Right? It always should be placed on the lap, and then after that you should be poured a glass of water.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So and this is your water glass.
That's a water goblet.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And then after when the water is poured, then you will present a bottle of wine, and that's why there's a wine glass on the table.
Okay.
It should have been a
This
red.
isn't my
and a
water
white.
glass, right?
Yes, that's your
It
water
is?
glass.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, that's a good question. Is it on your right side or your left side?
yeah. It should be on your right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever is on the right
Is
in
yours.
terms of glasses is
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So whenever they present the bottle of wine, there should be a white wine glass here as well.
Okay.
So if you choose a white or if you choose a red, and then as you go along, everything just, no, if you said, no, I don't want a glass of wine, or I would prefer something else, they should be removed from the table,
Okay.
right? So as you go along, then bread is presented, and this is where this plate,
That's
I know
why you
this
have your little
it's called a
plate here.
B&B plate, and this is your butter knife.
I recognize that.
Yeah, so after,
So you put your bread on your little bread plate.
that's right, yeah, and then you have your knife to butter your bread, right? So whenever that is finished, then this should be removed. Right? And then your main course is served.
Yeah.
Right, that's where these two come into play.
All right. Which forks do you use for your main course?
This is a dinner fork and a dinner knife.
Okay. And it's the one that's closest inside.
Yeah, that's right. This dessert fork can also be set on top.
On top,
Yeah,
yeah.
it just depends on your what you would like, but
What you're having.
whichever way is correct, this or this way, it doesn't really matter.
All right. So you're going to set out your dinner fork and your salad, not your salad, your dessert fork right
yeah.
next to it.
The wider one is the dessert fork.
Yeah, it's normally a little bit wider and it's a little bit shorter than the dinner fork. The dinner fork is a little bit longer, and if you notice, the teeth are a little bit longer.
Okay.
So that's how you recognize your dinner fork. And if you're having a salad, you can have two dinner
Yes.
forks on the table and two knives.
Yeah.
Right, so when you're finished with your salad, those two will be removed. Then you have these for your main course,
Yeah.
because it goes by courses. And then if you were offering your guests soup, you would have a
Then
soup.
you'd have a soup.
You have a soup spoon on
yeah.
the table as well. Yeah. So it all depends on your menu, how your table will be set.
And why is it important for our tables to look like this? Why can't you just have a knife and a fork?
Well, if
And
you're
a
having a
Or people who eat rice and beans with spoon.
I mean, it's a formal setting, you know,
Yeah.
and it goes with, like I said, with your menu.
Yeah.
So, you know, whenever your guests sit down, you don't want them to be asking, oh, I need a fork for my salad, you know, I need a fork for my dessert. Everything should be on the table. So it's just a flow. You just, as the meal goes along, it's just removing and leaving what you need. So by the time the meal is finished, the only thing should be on your table is your glass that you're drinking your beverage. Everything should have been removed at that time, no?
So let's go through if you're setting it at home, setting it up at home. You'll have your water goblet
That's right, yeah.
right above your knife.
That's right.
Right? And your knife is on the right.
That's right.
And then you have your wine glass. You can have two, a red and a white.
Yeah, depending on what you're offering your
Yeah.
guests, yeah. Mhm.
In front, what
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
normally on the right side your water glass,
Yeah.
right next to your water glass, yeah.
and then you'll have your dinner fork on the left.
Yes, that's right.
Inner
And if you're going to do a salad, you'll have one on the inside
That's
for the
right.
salad as well.
Well, the salad will be on the outside. It will be something like this.
Yeah.
And then the dessert will go on top.
Would be on
Okay.
top.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
I'll put mine.
So you can put it either on top or you can put it on
On the
this
side.
side.
Yeah, it all depends on whichever way is correct. It all
Yeah.
depends on what you want to.
Okay. And your bread
Right.
plate is on the right.
That's right. Yeah.
So what else do we need to know? I mean, a lot of people don't understand this entire process, and they may want to try it at home and probably start to teach the children. So tell us what we need to know. What are some of the things you absolutely shouldn't do when setting your table?
Well, first of all, when setting your table, you want to make sure, first of all, everything is polished, everything is,
Yeah.
it's shiny.
Yeah.
You don't want to see any fingerprints or, And if you are setting your table and your guest is sitting at the table, because sometimes that happens,
Yeah.
you don't want to be touching your,
Yeah.
So everything should be handled at the base, so you're putting your forks, your plates, everything should be handled properly. You don't want to be touching inside of your plates, touching your knives.
Okay.
And if you're serving your wine, you want to hold your wine glasses at the base. Everything should be at the base. You don't want to be holding your glass like this. It's just not. That's just not sanitary, and it's not nice
Yeah.
for your guests to.
And how about when you're serving your guests? What side do you know?
Well, it all depends. If Marlene is the host, I would go to you at first, and I would
Yeah.
take your order.
Yeah.
If she's the one that is ordering the wine or whatever, it always has to go to the guest first, and then she tries the wine, and then if she says it's okay, then I serve you first.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
so
Because
yeah.
So it always starts and come around. She's always last.
And how about when you're serving your guests? Do you serve them from either side, or is it?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. If you look at some of the videos or the books, they will tell you, you serve from the left or you serve from the
Okay.
right. But for me, I always think that it depends on the setting of the table. And I mean, I can come around and I can serve from her right, or I can come around and I can serve from her left. It all
Yeah.
depends. I mean, I'm left-handed,
Yeah,
so for
okay.
me it's kind of a little awkward.
Yeah.
But it all
So
depends.
you
on,
would be an exception.
Yes, I
too,
would
yeah.
be. So for
Yeah.
me, I would tell my staff, it all depends on how you're comfortable. You don't want to be leaning over your
Yeah.
guests.
Yeah.
So if I come with a plate, a plate of food, and I'm serving on her left, I would come around and I would,
Yeah.
not doing it over her shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the setting. Maybe the table could have been against the wall.
That's true.
Right, so I definitely can come from the left.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I would have to make sure I use my body, and come, when I present, I would present, using my
So you don't have to cross
cross.
over.
Exactly. The most important thing is not to cross over
Yeah.
the guest, or to being her face or over her shoulder.
Like you wouldn't serve this person over
Over
the
the
No, that
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
That's why there's a flow. I
Yeah.
have to be around the table.
Yeah.
So it all depends. For me, there's no right
Right
way
way,
of how
okay.
to serve a table. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time.
As long as you're not crossing over people. And
Exactly.
some people like myself are very bad. I may be leaning over talking to this one and you just won't have space
Well,
here.
yeah, exactly. Well, then that's why you have to be polite.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and
Yeah.
and one of the most important thing is not to interrupt the table. You don't want to interrupt the conversation. So you always have to find a way how I can come and come around, so that I don't interrupt that conversation.
Yeah.
It all depends
Yeah.
on what is happening at the table. So the server has to know what he's doing or she's doing.
What else do you absolutely not want to do when you're dressing your table?
Well, definitely you don't want to have anything dirty on your table. You want to make sure your tablecloths are clean, they're
Yeah.
ironed, You definitely don't want to have, like, for example, this is a small table. The centerpiece is a little bit too big.
Okay.
You always want to keep everything simple. There should have been a salt and pepper on the table. You don't want your guests to be asking. The more you can put on a table, the better it is.
Okay.
We Belizeans, we like our pepper sauce.
Yeah.
But we don't want to put a bottle of pepper on the table. But you want to have it available so that, if you say, oh, I would like some pepper sauce or something, it's available.
Yeah.
But not on the table, it looks.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to have a bottle of ketchup, or that stuff is, definitely not.
But salt
recommended.
and pepper is the
Yes,
basic.
salt and pepper definitely would be on the table. A centerpiece, some candles, something small, something fancy. The napkins, they can be folded whichever way. It doesn't really matter how. I mean, this is just a simple fold. It could have been.
I love how they say it's simple.
Simple, I know.
It could have been a simple.
Speaking of which, let's do that. All right.
So it could have been as simple as just putting, you know, a simple napkin in
okay,
your
I like
glass.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
it could be anyway.
Or with the ring.
Or
with the
a ring,
table
exactly.
yeah.
A ring could have
Table
gone around this, you know, set in the center. You know, there's a lot of ways that you can present.
And you can make stuff at home too. Like you
Oh,
could
of
put
course.
a ribbon around it.
Of course, you could get creative, and you know, there's no rule on how to set a table.
Okay, but I
That's
want to
it.
learn that fold. How do we do that?
Yeah, just show you how to do it. See. Yeah. So you can follow the.
So you start with a triangle.
Yeah, and then you meet the two ends.
And you bring the two ends
Yeah,
together.
Over and
Ooh, okay, you went
Wait,
from like
wait.
step 2 to step.
Wait, I'm only here. Yeah.
all right. After you form the triangle.
So from the triangle
yeah.
into the two ends.
That's right. You hold it to you flip. Right.
Flip this way,
Yeah, and then you just close it.
and then you close it.
And then it's right.
Okay.
Oh, I did something weird.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna take.
I
some
kinda
practice
have
with
it.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I did it.
Right.
I did it. I did. Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost as easy as putting it in
And
the
it
glass.
can be set on the table whichever way you I mean, like I said, for me, there's no rule on how to set this on the table. It
Yeah.
all depends on how you want to do it. When you look at it, does it look good? No, it doesn't look good, so I turn it around.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really, I mean, it look nice anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
We also know some people when they're dressing their table, they use their chargers and a white plate before you start.
Well, it all depends on, like I said, what you want, what kind of menu you're serving.
Yeah.
Maybe you might be serving something really formal, you know, you're doing a nice, put your chargers, you know, because the charger should be on the table at all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the plate that you will be moving. It's just, the charger is just something fancy you
Yeah.
add to the table. It's not
Yeah.
really,
It's like your plate
yes,
dressing.
exactly. It's not something you're going to eat in or anything
Yeah.
like that. So, that's something, if you have it at home, you
Yeah.
use it. You know, I wouldn't say run out and buy a charger.
Yeah.
Because most people don't know what it is. You know, it's just something you put on the table so that the plate does not soil your tablecloths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, but you don't have to have that on the table. That's not necessary. It's
Yeah,
just
I know most people don't have it at home. Right?
yeah, you know, it's just how the table looks. And if you have a big plate at home, you know, you can use a bigger plate than the dinner plate that you're using, so it works like a charger. You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, because some of these plates come very, you know, they're like 12 inches long, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be.
And you can personalize it too, I find that. Like people now may not, especially at home, maybe not out in a formal setting, but would do like mix and match plates and
right, yeah.
things that more match their personality.
That's right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on the season, I mean, if you notice, we have red, we have green.
Yeah.
You know, we have a green tablecloth and a red tablecloth. You know,
Yeah.
we could get creative. You know, there's a lot of things I can do on the table.
Yeah.
You know, I can take one of the cloths, ruffle in the center, put a candle, you know, you can make it fancy, you know.
Yeah.
It all depends on how you want to impress your guests, no?
So what else? Polished,
Yeah, definitely polished.
clean
definitely clean.
cloths,
That's right.
ironed. We spoke about having everything ready ahead of time, so hopefully you wouldn't have to do it
While
when they're
you're-
seated.
No, when they're seated, no,
That's
no.
ideally you don't
Yeah,
want to do that.
It should be set, yeah. It should
What
be
else?
set.
Have we missed anything?
I don't think so. I mean,
So I like that. Oh, if there's a champagne glass,
If there's a champagne glass,
that's what you're asking me. Yeah, the
well, if there's a champagne glass, meaning that you're going to serve champagne,
Yeah.
right? So you have your glass ready, and it
where
comes,
would you put that?
Well, if you see, it all depends on what you have set for your
Yeah.
guests. If I am serving champagne and I'm not serving wine, then this should not be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if I'm serving both, then I will have the wine glass, then the champagne glass will be right next to
Yeah.
the wine glass. And it all depends on what you're serving. I mean, in a restaurant setting, it's different. I mean, you have to have it on the table.
Yeah.
Well, not champagne, because champagne is not something you would. But
Have
normally, you would
dinner.
have a red and a white, and you have your water goblet.
Yeah.
That's like standard in a restaurant setting. But at home, it will depend
Yeah.
on what you're serving. Oh, I'm serving champagne tonight, so there should be a flute on the table.
I think at home though it would be basically wine and
Wine and
water.
Water,
Like,
exactly,
I don't know
exactly.
how
Yeah.
much.
So it all depends on what you're serving. All
And if
depends.
somebody is going non-alcoholic, they would get a regular glass.
That's right, yeah,
right?
yeah. You would want them to feel special, so you say, oh, well, Marlene doesn't drink wine, so I will put I'll put maybe a juice glass
A
or
juice
something there. You
glass.
know,
So your
those-
water glass and a juice glass in the event that you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want to impress your guests, well, I know she doesn't drink wine, you know. So I mean, there's
I really look like I know what I'm doing.
yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with that, with setting a table. I mean, it all depends on your guests and you know what you have planned for them. You know, it should be on the table.
Yeah.
You know, so that you don't have to be running in the kitchen. We'll get
Yeah.
that wine glass. You know, it's there.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so we talked about how to dress it. Let's talk about some of the etiquette from the guests themselves. So if you're invited to a formal dinner and you are seated in a particular setting like this, what do you need to know? What are some of the rules?
Well, first of all, you don't lean on the table. You don't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean that's
So
definitely.
easy. It's so easy to
Wait,
do.
Charlie can have your water.
No, it's just you don't want to look like you don't know.
Okay, so first
What's
thing,
happening,
don't put your
Elbows on the
No, you don't put
elbows
elbows
on
on
the
the table.
table.
You know, you want to sit
Napkin
up.
on your-
lap. Yeah, well, I mean, you won't. In most settings, you won't have a waitress to serve you
Yeah.
at home. You know, but as if you're my guest, I would get up and I would
Yeah.
put it or you can put it yourself. You
Yeah.
know? But it should be off the table at all time. You know, it's just for you to wipe your hands and your
Yeah.
mouth and whatever. And you know,
What do you do with the napkin? Say you have to step away from the table. Do you just throw it on the
well, normally people would just put it on the yeah. It doesn't. You know, there's no like I said, I don't like to say that there's a way to do it, which definitely there's a way. Believe
Some
me.
people are touchy about it.
Yeah, but you know, it all depends on how you do it and how nice you do it. Because you want to make it look nice, you want to make it look professional. You know, you want to impress your guests.
Yeah.
You want your guests come, wow, she looks nice table. You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't
She's
have
so
to be.
proud.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be going to a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
You can do it at home, and it's simple. I mean, all these stuff can be bought at any of the stores. You know.
And they're not as expensive as people
No,
think.
yeah.
Depending on the quality that they get.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and as long as it's properly polished, it will look fancy. I mean, it could be a cheap glass. You pay $3-4, you know, at the
Yeah.
store, but you put it. The trick is put it in some hot water and vinegar, and then you take a dry cloth and you polish it until it looks right, and then it would look like it was that you paid $20 for it.
So we've been seated at the fancy dinner that we didn't know what to do, and now what do we do next?
Well, when you get served, I mean that's it. I mean you're the guest.
Yeah.
Then that's where the server will come in.
Yeah.
Make sure you pour your water.
Yeah.
Take, if it's in
When you get your bread, it goes in your bread plate.
That's right. Yeah, and then you offer a beverage. If you want the wine, if you want the champagne.
Yeah.
I don't think that's mine.
Great.
Yeah, all of this should be done before the dinner service starts, because you don't want to be eating and can I get some water? Can I get that?
Yeah.
That should be already done. So when you start to eat, everything is there. The idea is to have everything at the table. Everything.
Okay.
You don't want the least your guests can ask for anything. It's the better. Yeah, better. You don't want to.
And so, if you are a guest at a formal dinner, I think what really confuses people sometimes is which fork to use. What are some tips on how to distinguish?
Well, the dessert fork is always a smaller fork. It's always smaller than the dinner. A salad, you would use the. It depends. You can use a dessert fork for a salad, but normally we would use the dinner fork. So you would have two forks on the table.
You'll have two big forks.
That's right. And then that's why this should be moved away, because this is for the end of the meal.
So you're working your way.
That's right. Yeah, it's
Out,
right.
right?
That's right.
Away
yeah,
from it.
yeah, that's right.
And sometimes there's a small spoon as well.
That's yeah. If, like I said, if you're going to do soup, there should be a soup. If you're going to serve your guests coffee or tea, there should
There's
be a
gonna be a
spoon.
small spoon.
That's right. Yeah,
So if there's a big spoon, there's soup. If there's a small spoon, it might be coffee.
coffee, and
or
some
tea.
people use the small spoon to eat desserts.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to have a spoon on the table, and the spoon is always facing the fork, and the fork is facing the knife. So you have a flow on the table going this way and going that way. So the table looks neat. And another tip is whenever you're setting your table is always have your chair. Your knife should always be lined up with the back of the chair, and it should be a thumb off the edge of the table. Right? You don't want your knife and your fork be hanging off the table. So you always put your thumb, just to make sure that everything is, neat.
Do you see what all your servers go through before you go to a
Of course,
dinner?
yeah, it has to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be nice, and everything looks uniform on the table.
And I have a question about the wine glasses. Is there a certain way that you're supposed to hold the wine glass, or can you just?
Well, like I said, the base is the most That's the way to hold a glass. You never hold a glass from the top.
Yeah.
Never. Whichever glass, even if it's water, if the server is going to pour your water, it always comes from the bottom.
Yeah.
And put,
And
never,
if you're drinking.
Drinking. Yeah.
Yeah. The best way to hold your glass is from the base. I mean, if you're eating, your hands probably might be soiled.
Messy,
You hold your glass, you'll have a oily glass on the table, and your guests will, So it's best to always.
Or it could look like you're just enjoying the meal.
No, the best way is by the base. Always by the
okay.
base. Yeah, it's sanitary to do that as well.
And how do you indicate to your server that you're done?
Okay, that's another trick. Right. Well, I didn't bring a.
We didn't bring an actual plate, but I always try to tell people that you can tell your server without them coming around.
Normally, this is the way you will do it. You will cross your knife and your fork on your table, or you could do it like this. Right. That shows.
Once you form the X.
Yeah, that shows that you're finished.
Or you don't want them to serve you anymore.
That's right. You're finished.
Yeah.
Right, and then if you don't want, if your server will come to a table and maybe want to pour you more water or pour more wine, it's just a wave. Just wave it, or you can, it's just telling the server. The less a server can communicate with you when you're with your guests, you don't want to be interrupted. Oh, do you want more water? Do you want more wine?
Yeah.
The body language will speak for itself. I mean, if you wave away, okay, I'm done. Or you can. I mean, it all depends on how big the table is. You can always put your plate
To the
to
side.
the side.
Yeah.
Most people would do that, because they don't want to have that plate. And that's why you have to have a server that is very attentive. So as they see the sign, it's moved.
Yeah.
Rather than having a customer, having a conversation and the dirty plate is sitting in front of them. So by the time this
Or
meal
the
is
food
finished,
is teasing them.
That's right.
Eat more, eat more.
and that's why it goes by stages. So by the time you are at dessert, the only thing should be on the table is your dessert fork and the beverage that you're drinking. Everything should have been cleared away. So by the time dinner is done, you pretty much have a clear table to do, so you can converse and you don't be looking at any.
I could do with some dessert.
Actually, I'm waiting for the main course. We have a ham and turkey.
That's right, yeah.
All right. So I think we really covered the basics. I think we took something that can be very daunting to people and really simplified it.
It's a very simple process. It's very simple, and like I said, don't go crazy and try to, as you just go with what you're preparing. If you're serving your guests ham and turkey, then all I need is a knife and a fork.
Yep.
That's all I need.
And a little fork for your cake.
That's right. That's all you need.
Afterwards,
Yeah,
or
you don't need
cake.
to go and put all those different settings, and you're not going to use it because then it's only going to be on the table.
So if you're not going to do bread, then you don't have to worry
That's
about
right.
the
Don't worry
bread
about
plate.
that. That's right. It's only what you need. You're going to put on the table.
Okay.
Right.
And you even learn how to fold the napkin. So you can do that as well.
That's right.
This is very simple, and I think while some schools venture to teach children, not all do, and it really just is a basic skill that
It's a
people
basic
should
thing.
know.
That's right. And it's how you set the table. Everything, like I said, uniform. Everything is clean. Everything is neat. You have nothing to worry about.
Okay.
Well, that ham was good.
We just made this food disappear. I don't know if you realize that. But we want to thank you, Patrick. We know you'll be sticking around because we actually have our ham and turkey segment coming up next. We did it in the opposite direction just so we don't have to dirty everything here. But we're going to go ahead now and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be making our Christmas ham and turkey. So stay tuned.